tongue. Sufferers only want to know where the next food coming from. Sufferers don't care about color. Sufferers don't care about race. Sufferers don't care who migrate from where or who living in who place. Sufferers don't care who from country. Sufferers don't care who from town. Sufferers only want to hear. Anytime you bounce up a racist and you hear them running them out, it have a whole set of people don't care what they talking about. A racist is someone living happy and all their family doing well. So race talk is really not for people in the ghetto catching hell. Now tell them racist sufferers don't care about color. Sufferers don't care about race. Sufferers don't care who migrate from where or who living in who place. Sufferers don't care who from country. Sufferers don't care who from town. nothing. Don't know where the next meal coming from. So I want you to go and to tell all them races, suffering makes us one. Now tell them races, sufferers don't care about color. Sufferers don't care about race. Sufferers don't care who migrate from where or who living in who place. Sufferers don't care who from country. Sufferers don't care who from town. Sufferers only want to know where the next food coming from. Sufferers don't care about color. Sufferers don't care about race. Sufferers don't care who migrate from where or who living in who place. Sufferers don't care who from country. Sufferers don't care who from town. Sufferers only want to know where the next food coming from. Sufferers don't care about color. Sufferers don't care about race. Sufferers don't care who migrate from where or who living in who place. Sufferers don't care who from country. Sufferers don't care who from town. Sufferers only want to hear where the next food anytime you bounce up a racist and you hear them running them out, it have a whole set of people don't care what they talking about. A racist is someone living happy and all their family doing well. So race talk is really not for people in the ghetto catching hell. Now tell them racists, sufferers don't care about color. Sufferers don't care about race. Sufferers don't care who migrate from where or who living in who place. Sufferers don't care who from country. Sufferers don't care who from town. Sufferers only want to hear where the next food coming from. Get up early next morning, go down in the 10 days yard. You'll see so much different type of people line up with the ID card. Or visit my village called Talparo, where they ain't get no water for years. People don't know the race, yes they don't know the color. With a bucket sit down shedding tears. Now tell them racists, sufferers don't care about color. Sufferers don't care about race. Sufferers don't care who migrate from where or who living in who place. Sufferers don't care who from country. Sufferers don't care who from town. Sufferers only want to hear where the next food coming from. God's word. We there find no cure as yet. People don't know the race. Yes, they can't remember the color. All they know is that they're facing death. Now tell them racists sufferers don't care.
Blessed, good afternoon to each and everyone. Welcome to Facts Not Fiction. Of course, I know I am just about 3 minutes late, but it has to do with the traffic congestion on the nation's road. So let me first welcome you regionally, locally, and internationally. Welcome. Today I want to start, ladies and gentlemen, by thanking every one of you individuals who came out last Saturday on that walk from Aranjuez to Port of Spain. I want to also thank the family who sponsored the printing of the jerseys and also paying for the mics that was utilized in order to announce the march in various areas within the East-West corridor. And that's the family in Aranjuez I'm speaking about. I also thank you for your participation, the young ladies who were up front, keeping up with the pace. I want to say thank you to each and every one. Now, I want to talk about that a little bit today. I want to speak about that a little bit today. Not in the sense of doing a post-mortem, but in the sense of helping you to understand the significant role that you are playing in our society. You see, you must get the credit that you deserve for you people who came out on Saturday. That credit is not a fanfare. But today I want to help you to understand the role that you are playing in our society. You see, you individuals who show the mettle, who show Trinidad and Tobago that you have the fortitude, that you are quite concerned about country, and your actions demonstrates that you put country before yourselves. All of you folks who started that walk, which you received 72 signatures before we started off. And those of you who we met on the way, those of you who could not make the entire walk, I want to let you know this afternoon that you are the true heroes of Trinidad and Tobago, you have demonstrated, and I am not speaking anything about the way in which things unfold later on. I am just speaking about naturally you, the people who came out Saturday. You show this country, and by the way, I want to thank the police officers who accompanied us on that march. The professionalism in which the Northeastern Division police officers from the rank of ACP come down, and the other officers that joined us and took us into Port of Spain. I think that you have done a professional job, and I want to commend you for that. But back to the people. You show this country that you are willing to put your life on the line, something that you would not get from people. You see, I recognize in this country that there are persons who would do things for political game and for political mileage. I understand in this country that there are also those who, if they did not lead something, they would not be a part of it. I also understand that. I also understand, ladies and gentlemen, that there is a selfish bunch of individuals in our society who make believe to the population that they care, but the actions of these individuals will show that what they speak is not what they are willing to demonstrate. You, the people who came out Saturday, who walked through Aranguez, Sawa, Barataria, Caledonia, Mova, Never Dirty, Lavanti, Beetham, and down to Port of Spain. Let me tell you something. You show this country that even though these are the high-profile crime areas, these are the areas that even the American and the British advisories would tell their citizens not to even enter driving, much less walking. You show the international community that you are not afraid to stand up and to help fix this country and to set an example that the politicians ought to follow. By you, the people who came out, putting country before self. That is what you did on Saturday. You were willing to be shot at while you chant going down through these areas that we are not prepared to tolerate the level of criminality in our country. You did it without a mask on your face. You expose your face. You expose yourself. You tell this country that you are not satisfied with Fitzgerald Hines and Keith Rowley administration, who cannot fix the crime situation. You did it bold-facedly. You did it without a mask, ladies and gentlemen. You expose yourself without fear to the criminal element, that you are willing to stand in the gap on behalf of this country. You were saying while we walk that we're not prepared to tolerate the level of criminality, home invasions, murders, rape, robberies, shootings. You did it without a mask on your face. You did not pelt a stone and put your hand behind your back. You pelt a stone for the criminal element and the whole of Trinidad and Tobago and the politicians to see that you are where they should be. You are where they ought to be. You are fighting for the poor, the oppressed, the downtrodden, and those who are unable to fight for themselves. You stand in the gap for every victim of crime in this country on Saturday. You show, ladies and gentlemen, that if nobody cares, you cares. You show while some were whining and jamming in Point 14. There are those of you who travel from Labre and travel and came all the way to Arangwes. There are those of you who came from various parts of this country and travel by traveling just to stand up to allow your presence to be felt in this crime-riddled society. And I say this afternoon, hats off to you who came out on Saturday. I want to tell you something. While there may be those who would consider our effort a failure, while there may be those who would rejoice because they have not seen the type of numbers to embarrass them, I want to tell you that every revolution of change in every society started with one individual. We started with 72 signatures and we end up with over 100. Every change throughout the world started by one individual, by one group that were able to stimulate the masses and to expose what needs to be done in a society. And I will be calling on you again, my fellow brothers, my sisters, my comrades, my colleagues. I, Victor Roberts, would be calling on you again. We would not let up, despite what people think, feel, or say. We are going to put country first, despite what's the consequence. And as for me, it matters not what is the political consequence of Victor Roberts. Because Victor Roberts said on numerous occasions on this platform and other platforms that my mission is country first. My mission is people first. My mission as an individual in this society is not to attract political gain, but it's to stand in the gap for the poor, the oppressed, and the downtrodden in Trinidad and Tobago. That is my mission. And the chips could fall where they may.
Mothers continue to fall, fathers continue to cry. We are losing our young people on a daily basis. So as we walk through the equation today, this march is a march against crime and a march against the criminal element. So we are moving through. We ask you to join us as we walk We are going down to Woodford Square, so we ask you to stand with us as we do our part to ensure that the authorities do something about the crime situation in Trinidad and Tobago.
And that's the message. We will do our part to ensure that the authorities do what is needed to fix the problem in this country. That is our mission. And I am going to be calling on you again. I am going to be calling on this same group of individuals who came out. This same group is the group that accompanied me when I took the Judith Jones report to the UN and the American Embassy. This group, ladies and gentlemen, we don't have money. We don't have money to mobilize maxi taxi from east, west, north, and south and Tobago to come to Port of Spain. We don't have 1 cent to do that. Some people came there with bare passage. Some people came there with fuel just enough to take them back to where they live in. We don't have money to advertise on the media houses. We don't have money to advertise on the papers. What we have is a good heart and love for country. What we have is love for the young generation. What we have is love for the future of the country. And it matters not to me who fixed the problem. What matters is that the problem get fixed, and the problem get fixed within the shortest possible time. That is what matters to me. That is what matters to me. So this is not about political gimmickry. This is not about self-ambition. This is not about ego. This is about the people of the country, your children, my children, your grandchildren, my grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, my great-grandchildren, the next generation. That is what we are fighting for. And I pledge here tonight that I am going to call on you again. We're not going to rest. We're not going to rest, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to stimulate this country to action. We have to set the example. We must not be weary in doing the right thing, despite what the critics have to say, despite what the politicians have to say. We will do our job. And our job is doing our part to fix this country. I am sorry who believe that walk was a UNC walk. I am sorry. I am sorry if that is how you want to classify the deaths, the rapes, the home invasions, the shootings in this country, like the politician, PNM or UNC. I know when another life gone, which might very well be tonight, you would not see yellow on the ground, and you would not see a red or a badize on the ground. You will see a human being. You will see something red. It may very well symbolize the badize, because they are the ones in government. They are the ones that is responsible. And I agree with Rowley. I agree with Rowley. You don't want to hear nothing from the opposition. Don't hear nothing. But we don't want to hear nothing from you, because you cannot fix the problem. This country in turmoil, and you in Barbados, Keith Rowley, you in Barbados, you are a traitor to the people of this country. If you can leave this country under this condition and keep a media conference and tell us that you are going to meet some friends and experience one of the best golf courses in the world, then I think Keith Rowley, and I'm saying this and I'm borrowing your words, then you should put the golf ball and the golf club where the monkey put the nuts. That's what you should do. Because you have to be a sick man. You have to be a wicked man. You have to be an uncompassionate leader to see your country going down the drain with blood, with rape, with home invasion, with shootings, with murders. And you tell this country that you going on a holiday? Boy, I wish you never come back. I, Victor Roberts, wish you never come back. Because for a prime minister to abandon its citizens in this condition, I am saying that the whole of the opposition should be standing up by the prime minister residence, demanding your resignation with the rest of Trinidad and Tobago. That is what should be happening. And I make no apology. That is what should be happening. Because we cannot tolerate this kind of half-hearted kind of behavior in this country and feel that the country will get better. This country is calling for drastic measures. And I am prepared to be a part of that. I am prepared to walk the length and breadth of this country. I am prepared to come by the Prime Minister resident and camp out. I am prepared, ladies and gentlemen, to camp out in front the Ministry of National Security. I am prepared to turn this whole thing upside down until the people of this country get justice and the people of this country feel safe. That is what I intend to do. That is what I intend to do. I often tell people, don't misjudge my character. Don't misjudge it. This is not about Victor Roberts and what Victor Roberts could gain. Because very soon, a few days, according to the scriptures, a few days and we out of here, we are like the flowers of the garden. Today we blossom and tomorrow we wither away. None of us know what the future holds. Many of you live on promises by the politician. I promise you will get that, and I promise you will be this, and I promise you will have that, and I promise, and I promise, and I promise, and I promise. I think I had to make a calypso. We live on promises. Well, I is one man, don't live on promises. I live on action. I live on integrity. I live on speaking the truth. I live on facts. And that is why I named this program Facts, Not Fiction. Because that is what you will get. Facts here. Whether you like it or you don't like it, you're getting it right here. While people here going to wine and jam in some reggae concert, not even understanding that they can be next on the list. You can be next on the list, Trinidad and Tobago. Any one of you, none of you safe anywhere, anytime in this country under the present conditions. None of you. And that is why I will lift up and I will exalt and I will place those individuals who came out. I will place them to the top, to the epitome of standing. If it's left up to me, I tell you, all of you get a national award because you are able to do what the politicians afraid to do. You are able to do it. And that is why I will continue to mobilize you. I will continue to call you out, because we're not going to surrender to this crime situation. We're not going to retreat, and we're not going to surrender. We will go by every institution. We will go by the police administration building. Call out to Ola Christopher. Let's hear what's your plan. We will go by the Ministry of National Security. We will move, we will go, we will do what we have to do in the interest of saving this country. I want to thank those also who provided refreshments on the way while we walk. We started walking with 6 cases of water in my van, and another goodly lady, who I would not call her name because I didn't get permission to do that, had some cold water in her vehicle also. And there are those who came out and cheer us on. And I was shocked when we were cheered on in Mova Junction by the youths on the hill. The youths on the hill, the same youths that they say no good. I was shocked when they cheer us on. One man said, boy, what are you talking about crime? Go from here. And as you say that, they come down and they brush them out from here, boy. Anybody that go from here is Rowley and Hines and them. That is the strength that we get while we walk. That is the strength. And this is what this country is lacking. It's lacking people with fortitude like you folks. You have displayed a huge fortitude. You have displayed stamina. You have displayed a type of guts that you could hardly find in those who ought to be representing us. That is what you did. You exercise it. Some of you who couldn't walk the whole journey, you tried. You tried. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I appreciate your love for this country. If it's up to me, I put all in the parliament. I put all in the parliament and your ministry. You know why? Because all you will do a better job than the government. Because all you have love for country. All you have love for humanity. I would have placed all you in every ministry, and this country would have been a better place by what all you demonstrate. Saturday gone. I commend you highly. But as I said, we would not stop there. I will be getting back to you very soon. We have just about 100 and something names and phone numbers and address that you give to us. I will be calling you personally. And we will do what we have to do. Do not be discouraged. Do not be dismayed. You have accomplished a lot on Saturday. I have people calling me from different quarters. I have people calling and willing. And they said that, Mr. Roberts, we as a certain business chamber, a certain business chamber, I will meet with them this week and have a discussion as planned, and then I will announce. This, Mr. Roberts, we weren't aware. We weren't aware, but it's when we see you all walking, and then we make you out, we say, aha. So they reach out to me, and they ask for a meeting, a certain business chamber, they ask for a meeting for sometime this week, which I am going to accommodate. And after that meeting, we will speak. We will speak, Because once the business people start to get serious and they start to get involved, I don't need them to come out and show their face, I don't need them to do that. But there is things that we will need them to do. And when we ask that they close, if it's for half day or a day, I would expect that they will follow through and they will close and send the message loud and clear that they have enough. And I am telling you, all it needs is a spark, and we start that spark on Saturday. That is what we did. We start the spark on Saturday, and believe you me, people would emerge. People would be visible. There's a lot of text messages and phone calls that I get echoing the sentiment that they were not aware. So we will try to ask the business sector on the next occasion to finance the ads. To finance the ads on the electronic media and the print media, while we do our part on social media, and we will do what we have to do. That is the mission going forward. That is my mission going forward. And if I'm mashing anybody corn, then put on a steel tip. Put on a steel tip so you won't feel it. Because I am not prepared to sit down, lie down, and wait and hope that some miracle happen that the people of this country will be safe. Not Victor Roberts. I am prepared to do what I have to do to make my contribution to have the citizens of this country safe. It matters not how small it may be, because I could only go as God permit me to. And let me tell you something, trust me, I believe that God permit me to do plenty more of this that you're seeing on the screen here. I believe that. You see that youth man in front there? That's Joshua Roberts, the one with the Nike hat. You see the next little small one there? That's Omar Roberts. You know who is them? Them is my two children. Let me fix that properly before Archie attack me. That is two out of the rest of my children. My madam driving the van in the back, and she is there to assist anybody who is not feeling so well. She is properly well trained as a nurse, and she is very well qualified to perform duties along that line. So she driving. You see my van coming there? That ugly blue van there, where I feel Omar and Joshua going around there because it look like they're thirsty, watch them. It look like they're running for water, watch. Right? That little ugly blue skin up mouth van there. That Toyota Hilux, that is my van. All you know it anyway, because let's be calling me anyway on the highway, Roberts. Right? Look at that there. That is me there. That is she driving that. So the point I'm making is this. I am going to do what I have to do, and I know with your support, we will wake this country up. So do not be dismayed and discouraged because you only see 500. Don't worry about that. What we're doing, we're not doing it for the numbers. There are those who feel that we fail because they see 500 and they see 5,000. But what we're doing is not for the numbers. You see, you have to understand that we could plant, we could water, but it's only God to give the increase. Keep that in the back of your mind. Keep that in the back of your mind, people. We could plant the tree. We could sow the seed. We could water it, but it's only God could make it bring forth fruits. And what we do, Saturday gone, the seed has been planted. we need to keep watering it now. And you know how we watering it? By getting back outside there. And trust me, at the appropriate time, the increase would come. All right? So keep that in mind. So as I wrap up this part of it, I want to say to you again, thank you very much for putting country before yourselves. Because as I said before, we went through some of the hottest hotspot in the country, and we did it without fear of anything. We did it without fear. So rest assured, we will do what we have to do. The numbers will come when God see it fit. You see, while everybody look at each other, and I go into the Archbishop just now, so I want to talk a little God talk now. While all of us we watch each other, you know what God watch? God watch the heart. God look at what inside of you. God look at your reason for doing what you're doing. And while everybody may speculate, and they may condemn, and they may say, well, Miss Santa Cruz always here, and she always there, and she looking for fame. You don't have to study them. God knows what is inside of your heart. And that is where your reward does come from. So I doesn't worry with detractors, old talk. And let me tell you something. I am very much encouraged. I am very much happy. And I'm very much thankful for you people who walking down the road here last Saturday. Very, very. The old, the young, the not so young, and the not so old. Everybody walking down the street, voicing and demonstrating their dissatisfaction with what is happening in result of the crime situation in TNT. So I thank you very much. Right. So let me move on from here a little bit. And we are going to none other than the man himself. So we have Archbishop Jason Gordon, who is now telling Trinidad and Tobago through our editorial entitled Getting Children's Home Right. In a meeting with the Children's Authority on Wednesday, Roman Catholic Archbishop Jason Gordon called on the state to do more to help children homes managed by the church. Archbishop Gordon called on the state to help the children homes that is managed by the church. We're coming back to that. That hope is likely to be echoed by the owners and managers of 13 homes that remain non-compliant with the Children's Community Resident Foster Homes and Nursery Act 2000, which sets baselines expectations of homes housing children in the care of the state. The Children Authority lists 24 licensed community residents on its website. Unlicensed community residents face a fine of $10,000 and a continuing penalty of $500 per day for each day they continue business without complying with the act. Further, that these homes created to care for children were having difficulty meeting the very basic requirements set for a community residence in concern. Ladies and gentlemen, Archbishop Gordon, that man on the screen, he is now calling through a meeting with the Children's Authority, that the state do more to help children's homes, which is managed by the church. I want to ask Archbishop Gordon, how much of the recommendations which came out of the Judith Jones report, that the homes which is under your jurisdiction, your watch, or your supervisory, has you people implement? The marks again. The homes that you, Archbishop Gordon, supervise, or under your supervisory power, the homes that you, Archbishop Gordon, have the oversight on, how many of these homes you have instructed the caregivers to implement the recommendations, and how much of the recommendations by Judith Jones report to protect the children that is abused in these homes? That is my question. I want to tell Trinidad and Tobago, a few months ago, was it this same gentleman that telling this country and telling the children in the home, sorry? Was it this same gentleman that stood up in front media houses and telling the abused children in the home, sorry? Was it him? I'm opening the phone lines 7:30. We go talk about the march, and we could talk about Jason Gordon also. But was it Jason Gordon who tell the abused children sorry a couple months ago? So my question to Jason Gordon now is, since you tell them sorry for the cigarette burn, for the bruise, let me don't go so raw, for the abuse of these little boys, the agony, pain, and trauma that these little boys and little girls, where even a 8-year girl was found by a caregiver with hickey all over she, 8-year-old. I asked Gordon, have you implemented any of the recommendation to protect these children by Judith Jones' report? Or is these children still vulnerable to the predators of this country? Why you asking taxpayers? Because when you're asking state for money, it's taxpayers, you know. Why you asking taxpayers to further generate revenue to help these homes where these children still getting abused in this country? You see why I tell all of you folks who came out to march that the work now start? Because we will have to pay Jason Gordon a visit to find out if they implement measures to protect these children. We have to pay Jason Gordon a visit. And then we had to pay Ayanna Webster Roy, who is the minister in the Prime Minister office, who had the report for 8 months together at Rowley and did absolutely nothing, while the report state that urgent measures, stringent measures needs to be implemented to protect the little boys and little girls from sexual, physical, verbal, psychological, and other type of abuse. So we had to pay Gordon a visit. Gordon, the same way Gordon is asking for taxpayers' money, same way he asking for the state to assist, is the same way we who pay that money to assist these homes, we must make sure that our children, that they are protected, because we are the guardians of these children. It is our money that is being used to pay the staff, and a matter of fact, to fatten up these children for the sicko predators, the sexual predators, pedophiles, to abuse them. So we have to understand that the abuse of children is also a criminal act. And if we are concerned about the level of criminality and crime in the country, then we will have to visit Archbishop Gordon in the first instance and get a progress report as to what has since been implemented to protect our children from the vicious predators, the criminals that abuse them. And then we will have to further, based on what happened, we will then have to visit Ayanna Webster Roy to find out what is the position with the implementation, and we also have to visit the Children's Authority. So you see how much work is cut out for us. I tell you, we just start the spark, you know. We just start the spark. And the mission will have to continue. So while Gordon is calling for cash to ensure that these homes get something, we have to make sure that these homes, that the children, that they are protected from the vicious predators which comes from the cross-section of society, because there is abusers in government. There is abusers in the church. There is abusers in the public domain. So we had to work on it. We had to work on it. We have to find out what measures that Gordon put in place before he could come and look for state funding.
That is what he is about. That is exactly what he is about. He ain't business about seeing about the Judith Jones report. He ain't voicing his concerns about all the allegations, all the happenings. He ain't business about that. But he business about getting the funds.
That is what we will investigate, Gordon. So expect us. Yeah. We will be coming.
But Victor, I know you took the Justice Judith Jones report to some international bodies, and whereas they did acknowledge receiving it, I don't recall any follow-up action. Also, did you ever contact this man in your screen here, about, because he have responsibility.
Yeah.
Did you ever contact him or forward the Justice Judith Jones report for comment, or ask or seek his intervention?
Well, when I'm going to him, which is very soon, Archie, I will be seeking a comment. I'll be seeking to find out what the church has implemented. And I know I will get some answers, because if I don't get answers, I might very well be a member of the church, because I may stay there for a few days without moving, Archie. I may want to observe the activities, and then we will go down to the children home, and we will do what we have to do. Let me don't expose too much, but I put in Gordon on notice. I put in Gordon on notice that I am going to be visiting him very soon, since he now asking for state intervention to ensure that these homes run. We want to make sure that the recommendations of Judith Jones, that report, that those recommendations are implemented to protect the children of these homes. But while I on Gordon now, Gordon, I want to ask, I see you in the march, boy. I see you come out in the march. I see you walk against crime. But I think sometime the other day telling the people of this country no bad talk the country. Was it you, Gordon? Was it you telling us, the citizens, not to bad talk Trinidad and Tobago when people spoke out against crime? Was it you, Gordon? Was it you? I want to find out if it's you. Because if it's you, Gordon, and you don't worry to bad talk Trinidad and Tobago, then I would expect to see you out there walking with us, showing that the church is in solidarity, and the church is also doing its part in order to protect the people of this country from crime. If all you hearing me, let's say all you hearing me, we will pick it up. I see all you say no volume. So tell me if all you getting volume before I continue. I sounding good here. Tested volume 1. All you indicate to us if all you getting a little volume.
Check, 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 check.
All right, somebody say the volume scratchy. How we song in there now? Testing 1 2 1 2. 1 2 1 2. How we song in? Tell me. All right, we're going to change this mic. We're going to change this mic, fresh mic. So I'll take this one off. All right, I'll hear me better here now. Tell me how we song in here. Tell me how we song in here. Tell me how we song in here now. How we song in? Good? Testing 1, volume up. Somebody indicate to us if all they hear us clearly now. It's still saying not clear. Testing one. All right, how we singing there now? Somebody tell me something. All right, so I hear we good to go now. So I'm coming back to Archbishop Gordon. Right, they say we good. They say we good. Right, so we have to ask the Archbishop. We have to ask the They the one you know bring from here, you know. Put in this one. Right. Nice reading? Right. So we had to ask the Archbishop. I am asking the Archbishop, how come we ain't seeing them talking about crime? How come we ain't seeing them walking about crime? How come we ain't seeing none of the churches? How come we ain't seeing none of the churches talking about the murders? How come we ain't seeing the churches speaking about the home invasions? How come we ain't see the churches speaking about the rapes? How come we ain't see the churches speaking about the shootings? What is happening here? What happened? Like that is not sin. I just see people talking all kind of thing about Hindu this and Hindu that and Hindu the other. Some Christian people, I hear they talking about Hindu. So what happened to the church now? I'm going to get serious to tell you. The same church we're talking about all the time. That the church is the only way, and the church is this way, and the church is that way. What happened? The church dumb? The church should only criticize? How the church ain't talking nothing about crime? How the church ain't talking nothing about Rowley? How the church ain't talking about Hines? How the church ain't talking about the rapes? How the church ain't speaking about the home invasions? All of them so-called Christian, so-called, yes, I calling them that. All them so-called Christians who want to condemn Hindus, what happened? All they get dumb? All they get dumb? You ain't hearing nothing from the church. It seems as though that everybody is Christian now. Everybody is believers. It had no sin going on. It had no crime going on. Everything good. Everything good. Or they're afraid to go in the hotspot areas. Is it that they're afraid that they wouldn't get protection from who they served? I was afraid. How I see them walking on the streets? How I see them talking? How I hearing them? 220 something murders. I ain't hearing them. What happened? They go on and they playing golf in Barbados too, or what? You people can't be serious in this country. The church should be leading a frontal attack against the evil that is spreading over this land. I should be seeing the church all over this country praying. If that is what they say, that's fix the problem. I supposed to be seeing them in Arang West praying. I supposed to be seeing them in Beetham praying. I supposed to be seeing them in Silots praying. I supposed to be seeing them in Labre praying. In Sipa, in Penal Debe, in Princess Tong, Miaro. I supposed to be seeing the church outside. You know the gunmen and them that say we outside? I supposed to be seeing the church outside, but it seems as though the church lock up inside. This is the reality. I realize in this country what we have is a bunch of people who know how to fix the problem. They know this. They know that. They forever knowing, but they ain't doing nothing about what they know or what they say they know. They forever condemning. They forever have solution to fix the problems. But you can't see none of them outside fixing the problem or attempting to fix the problem. Somebody tell me why. Somebody tell me why. Actually, I needed just to run one ad. Let me just get a little sip of water in a second. I will be less than a minute.
Please do yourself.
Somebody do yourself. You don't like that. They can't take you to walk the road there only. I will police here for you to walk the road. Walk on the road.
So, ladies and gentlemen, where are all these people? What about the trade unions? What about the OWTU? What about these trade unions that claim to be representing people? Is it to say that they only represent when they could collect union dues? Yeah. Is it to say, what about the unions? Is it to say these unions speak of representing and representation and workers' rights and the working class and this and that? What happened to the trade unions? Is it to say that they will come to the streets when they are paid to do so? Is it to say that the working class have to pay them in order for they to come out and stand up against the crime situation? What is wrong with this country? What is wrong with Trinidad and Tobago? What is wrong with all these individuals who speak representation? What is wrong? Somebody tell me, what is really wrong with them? Something had to be wrong. Something have to be wrong, ladies and gentlemen. Because you cannot tell me that the unions, the trade unions in this country, who ought to stand up for the working class, and a matter of fact, stand up for the whole of Trinidad and Tobago, stand up for society, stand up for humanity. You can't tell me that you cannot see the trade unions anywhere on the outside. You cannot see these people anywhere on the outside. These people were so vocal when, and I think I understand what is happening, you know, because they were vocal when they were collecting in 2010 to 2015. Wage negotiations were settled. So they was busy on the streets. So it seems as though it's only when they collect, they represent. That is what I have to believe. It's only when they collect, they will function. You ain't hearing nothing about a trade union movement on the street. You're inviting them to come out and walk against crime. They ain't even acknowledging your email. You're going in person and dropping off invitation. They ain't acknowledging. You're sending invitation on the WhatsApp for them. You're seeing they read it. You're seeing the blue tick. But they're not coming out. So the church now failing the people. The trade unions failing the people. Well, I have one business chamber who called me to have some talks. I go in. So I ain't going to rough them. I ain't going to rough up them yet. The NGOs in coming out. The NPOs, the non-profit organization, them in coming out. The Agriculture Society of Trinidad and Tobago. Farmers complaining about predial larceny left, right, and center. Them in coming out. They cutting your fig, you're planting your moko, your baigan, your oko, your pepper, your tomato. Your body, your pumpkin, your kalalu bush. Farmers balling. They passing with can, loading up and going. They going with your goat, your sheep, your hog. But I ain't hearing nothing from the Agriculture Society. Absolutely nothing. Them ain't coming out. So it seems that everything good. It seems like everything good in this country. The number to call is all right, so we gotta forego that for today. But I ain't hearing nothing from them. Nobody ain't saying nothing. Nobody ain't doing nothing. That is the reality. That is where we are. We have a bunch of idiots in government, only fixing the business, eating nice, drinking nice, going on holiday, spending your taxpayer money. Every 2 years, they have a new brand vehicle to collect with $1 million tax free. And as time passes, they sell it and they look for a new one. They make a profit again. So the only unprofitable organizations that it have in the country is you, the citizens. So I didn't realize that. All are vulnerable to everything. All are vulnerable to austerity measures. All are vulnerable to the criminal element. All are vulnerable to everything and anything. All you can't mind all your family. All you can't buy food. All you can't pay all your bill. All you can't help all yourself. But yet, all you still sit down quiet. I mean, you could tell me, boy, we too weak to come up because we can't buy food. But you can't tell me that when I seen all you balancing borrow day, and every little party it have all your balancing, every little gesture here, there, and everywhere, all your half naked. All your half naked, all your pose up here on Facebook, all your cock up there, all your skin up here, all your this day, all you having a time. So it seems as though things is good for all you. But when the gunman reached by all you and all your door, when the gunman reached by all you and all your door ball, you know. Do ball because thing nice. Yeah, thing nice with all you. You cannot tell me the country going down the drain. Far down the drain, you know. And all you making an effort to save all yourself. All you have to tiptoe to breathe. All you almost underwater. All you tiptoeing to breathe. And all you telling me that all you still in doing nothing to save all yourself. What kind of society is this? What kind of society that will rejoice on the death and suffering of others? It seems as though that people is more excited to do a video on a dead corpse that was executed than to come out and stand up to stop the execution. It seems as though that there are those who will prefer just to speak out on social media because they consider that the safe, easy platform where they could stand up and just look good instead of doing the hard work and coming out and denounce what is going on. It seems as though that there are some politicians who sits within the comfort zone so that they don't care really what happened outside because they have a firearm in the waist and because they believe they're safe, that they really don't care about you. They really ain't care about you, you know. Don't fool yourself and mamaga yourself. Because if this batch of politicians who sit in government did care anything about all you, let me tell you something. All you would have seen policies implemented to protect all you. The government going after people with legal firearms who is able to defend their family. The government going behind them. So it boils right back down to the philosophy of Keith Rowley, who dead. And as he say, dotish people or stupid people in Trinidad and Tobago. Because you, ladies and gentlemen, I could never sit down and believe that you will see a government that doing everything possible to bring your life to a disastrous end, to bring it to terminate it at the shortest possible time. And you well, I even want to say sheep now. I even want to say sheep because I think sheep start to get smart. You just pushing your neck all day and supporting the same thing that is killing you, the same thing that is responsible where you cannot provide and feed your family, the same thing that have your sons and daughters as prostitutes on the streets of Trinidad and Tobago. Just imagine, I am aware of young men who have since become prostitutes in order to wear a sneakers, a pants, and a jersey. This is facts and not fiction. And I know you are aware also. We are now seeing girls from a tender age doing things to attract men where they believe that they could have a little money if even it means to buy a KFC. There are so many young girls, underage girls, who is involved in sexual activities simply because they need money. Simply because they need money to take care of themselves. They are making themselves vulnerable to the predators, to the wicked, nasty men, because that's a man wicked and nasty. Real wicked and nasty. Big men. And I ain't only talking about the pedophiles, you know. I'm talking about some of them who are wife too, you know. Some of them who are wife too. Something about the little girls and them, they feel that they go get manhood when they go behind them little underage children. And if the systems were working right, then these men would have been in jail. These men would have been published on the papers as pedophiles. But it seems as though nothing is working in this country. Absolutely nothing. The only thing that is working in this country at this time is the police roadblock, sharing out ticket for a cracked glass, a cracked rearview mirror, a smooth tire, a park light bulb that blow. That is what is working. That is the only thing working. Nothing else. Everything else in the country collapsed. Everything collapsed. And what in collapsing? Your family life and all collapsing. Because your sons and daughters have to go out there and do things to bring food on the table. And all you are aware of it. All you are aware of it. Is this the type of society that you, the people of Trinidad and Tobago, is this the society that you endorse? Is this type of behavior that you will condone in society? And then you are wondering why we are at this place? You are wondering why the situation is out of control? The crime situation is out of control because you, the people of this society, allow the government to be out of control. People is thieving and robbing and killing because these people of this country allow the government to thief, rape and kill. You allow it. And as people talk, you get on the defense and talk about UNC. You get on the defense and you speak of UNC. Deal with UNC when UNC in power. Deal with PNM when PNM in power. But some of you are so naive and brainwashed that the PNM in power and the policies bringing you to your feet, dragging you on your belly, and you still talking UNC. UNC not in government? So much ministers with not only questionable characters, but with serious allegations that is before them. But what you do, instead of you deal with this situation and correct it, there are some of you, big, mature, educated, and I want to call you idiots, who will say, well, when Tom did it under UNC, or they didn't say nothing. What kind of dirty society is this? What kind of pig-headed, ignorant, illiterate society is this? So because somebody do it under UNC and get away, then it must happen under PNM and they must get away too. You condoning it? That is the stupidity that you will propagate in a society that we call an educated society. So because somebody did something wrong under the UNC and they get away because of some loophole or some big hole or some whatever, then you are saying it is right for somebody in the PNM to do the same, commit the same crime and get away because somebody get away under the UNC. You see how idiotic you people think? That is how you think. People who should be educated, they have since become educated fools. Because what society would condone wrong and evil because a previous government did it? What society? We have to stand up for what is right and stand up all the time for what is right. When the UNC do wrong, they must be held accountable. When the PNM do wrong, they must be held accountable. And when your children do wrong, they must be held accountable. And when you do wrong like you are doing now by supporting the wrong that the PNM doing, then you are responsible for the demise of Trinidad and Tobago. You are responsible for the demise of the country. I said to you, let me tell you something that you'll forget or you'll plain notice. I don't pelt stone and put my hand behind my back. Go back on history. Go back in the history of this country. I was responsible. I was responsible for serious protest action against the Minister of Works and Transport, who was Suresh Rattan-Rambachan at the time. Go back and look at the protests in Palo Seco and Los Bajos. Google it. So all you idiots who feel that somebody on this program is a fanatic, the only fanatic is you. Go back and check it. Go back and check it. It took me about 12 years or so, I win that case because I was arrested. The police put together some charge and charged me for some dotish, unsecure load and dangerous driving. Because them can't drive. Because them can't drive. I eventually win that case.
Right, we're getting ready to cross over to the Compass Foundation.
Yeah. So I don't play. I just say what I mean and mean what I say. So I'll be coming to you again. And we will do what we have to do in the interest of saving this country. Here is why I have to leave it tonight. Because there's another program. MP Rushton Parry is on the Compass Foundation together with who name I seen there? Gary Mahabir.
Those are the panelists, the hosts. Oh, yes, correct. You're correct.
Right.
Correct.
So join the Compass Foundation as we switch over at this point in time.
Yeah.
Good night.
Just want to let people know that Anil Roberts, the host of Douglas Politics, is the Northeast coordinator, and with the recent apparent local government elections that is in the air, Anil is a man. You saw how he performed in the swim meet. He took that team and laps and make joke. So he is in full gear preparing his Northeast candidates for local government elections. So his time has become a little limited. So he is not going to be having his usual Wednesday show, but he will be shifting it to Sunday. But in that slot, Victor, I think Facts Not Fiction may assist Senator Roberts up in the Northeast by giving some exposure to his prospective local government candidates. So you could very well Facts Not Fiction up in the Northeast, taking on some of these, giving exposure to some of these candidates in the Northeast.
Yeah.
So look forward to that. But for the time being, there will be no Douglas Politics on Wednesday. So we'll be crossing over to the Compass Foundation at this time.
Thank you and good night.
He's connecting at the moment.
He's supposed to be inside Leash.
Yes, I'm seeing that. Right. Okay. And also, we have with us tonight Mr. Gary Mahabir, who is a very strong community activist and patriot and president.
You hear me?
Yes, Mr. MP Parry or Gary? Someone is trying to. MP Parry, I'm hearing you. You are coming
I
across.
think it was MP
Yeah.
Perry.
Yes.
Uh,
Right. I know you're having some
yeah, I just wanted to find out if you
internet-
guys are here.
Yes, I know you're having some internet difficulties, but you can turn on the camera. Is your internet connection stable enough?
Bandwidth issues, yes.
Oh,
So,
okay, okay. So all
nah.
right, no problem. We'll work with whatever, whatever you have available right now.
Service, yeah.
Yes, yes. Unfortunately, you're slurring too, You're slurring, so the connection isn't that great. But maybe it will get better as the program, the program goes on. So, MP Parry is here, ladies and gentlemen. And I was also saying we do have with us Mr. Gary Mahaber for the first time, who is a very strong community activist and patriot. And he is president of the Trinidad and Tobago Citizens Overseas Group. So both gentlemen are indeed well qualified to take us through our discussion tonight on crime and the economy. And I would like to say a special good night and welcome to both of them. We are very excited and honored to have you both here with us tonight. I would also like to say a special welcome to you, our viewers. I'm seeing already our regular viewers coming, listeners and viewers joining in on Zoom as well as the social media chats. And it is really an honor to have a regular group of people that join us every week. Right? We are going to be live on Zoom, Facebook, and YouTube. Right? I also want to say hello to those of us who may not watch the program live, but will certainly catch it after. Also, welcome to members of the media. Thank you for your continued support. They've been very good to us. Members of the Compass Foundation who are working behind the scenes every week. This, coincidentally, is our 50th episode. Right? We never thought we would have gotten here, but we are now half a century. So, members of the Compass Foundation, thank you all so much. And last but not least, I would like to say welcome to my co-moderators tonight, former local government councillor and HSC practitioner, Mr. Safraz Ali, and the treasurer of the Compass Foundation, the lovely Ms. Shanta Sipasad. Now, people have been asking what is going on with the ever-popular Compass Foundation PRO, Mr. Chris Hussain. Chris is currently doing his final exam, so he is very, very stressed out. He's studying really hard. He will be back with us after May 20th, right? So, as usual, we will start off with a panel discussion, after which we will have Q&A and an open mic. That is our normal format. We will aim to end the program between 9 and 9:30, and we tend to do a hard stop at 9:30 p.m. So without further ado, I would like to pass you on to Mr. Safraz Ali, who will kick off our panel discussion tonight.
Okay, good night, everybody. Thank you very much for that introduction, Lisha. Good night, Shanta, our co-moderators. Good night to the Honorable MP Rushton Parry. MP, you need no introduction, but in case anybody who was living under a rock and didn't hear about you, I will say you are one of the most hardworking and most dedicated MPs on the two sides in the parliament that grace the parliament corridor. And MP, I just want to encourage you to continue in that vein. I mean, you have been working assiduously for the people. You have been very creative. You're not a run-of-the-mill person who won election. You're actually adding value to your office, to the MP for mayor office, and you're very creative in looking for solutions. And that is the type of representation Trinidad and Tobago needs, not only mayor, but all across. I mean, we get it also in Batas. Our MP Saddam Ahmed put a plug for him. He's very well also. So to all the other opposition MPs, they try very, very hard in their respective areas. But MP Rushton, you continue to do a fantastic job. We have also Mr. Gary Mahaber, who is from the Leash, just correct me here, the Overseas Association.
Tobago Overseas, the T&T Overseas Citizens Overseas Group, Trinidad and Tobago Citizens Overseas Group.
Right, and that is very important in terms of the diaspora and so on. And I guess when Mr. Mahaber comes on, he'll give us a scope of his organizational goals and objectives and so on, and how they could contribute to rescuing Trinidad and Tobago. So without ado, I would like to go straight into our first question. As Leisha mentioned, we got the IMF report, the latest quarterly report from the IMF, and Minister of Finance Imbert ran with it and said things looking very rosy for our economy, and Trinidad is on the mend, and the economy is catching back and so on. But then the very learned lecturer from UWI, Dr. Roger Hussein, economist par excellence, would have rebutted that with some releases of his own, and he dissected the data to show otherwise. So the first question, the start of our program tonight, is that what is the data really telling us in terms of where the economy is right now? Is it that the Minister of Finance selectively used data to try to portray a positive picture when in fact it is not really so? And we saw MP Russian Pare had a similar experience with the Minister of Finance concerning the real status of the unemployment rate about 3 weeks ago, where Minister of Finance was saying, they have creating real jobs and so on. And MP Russian Pare had to show, well, the data is not showing that at all. So to MP Russian Pare, what is the latest with this new set of data that coming out here? Is it that the Minister of Finance is portraying something that is not there, as per Dr. Roger Hussein's explanation?
Thank you very much for that very lovely introduction, Shafraz. I do appreciate it. And yes, we do work pretty hard here in my entire team. So it's not a one-man show. I have a very good support structure. I have a good team to help, carry the work along. So thank you again for the introduction. Let's talk quickly about what you call the closing report of the IMF, which came out on Friday. What the Minister of Finance did, that's a 5-page summary report, right? Now, what these summary reports are, basically, is that when the data comes and certain levers are met, they have stuck responses because of certain criteria being met. So let's get two things very, very clear. Come on board on Friday. It's a May delivery. The data that was used to produce the report was done in 2022. Is that the world changed in January of 2023 when the energy prices started its return back to a normalization position. So what you find is that a lot of the positions that were taken by the IMF based on the data in 2022 and the collapse of energy prices in January 23, it almost makes many parts of the report null and void. So Roger Hussein is quite right, because we have access to the 108-page actual staff report that the minister doesn't use to dance and sing with, because the IMF is very critical in many areas. They are very critical in areas such as how we manage our foreign exchange, diversification. They have talked about $150 billion. They have insisted that we put the legislation.
Folks, unfortunately, MP Pare is experiencing some internet challenges tonight. I see he just got kicked off, and that is what was responsible for the slurring that you were hearing while he was speaking. I sincerely hope he's able to rejoin tonight, and I'm hoping that we could get some improvement. Maybe Surprise, I don't know if he could just call in on the phone, and we could you know, perhaps just maybe one of us can play the cell, right, on loudspeaker or something like that. All right, so maybe we could turn our attention to Mr. Gary Mahabir, right? So Shanti, you want to maybe ask Gary the questions that we have for him?
Sure. Thanks, Lisha. Good night, Mr. Mahabir.
Thank you for having me.
Sure. And I think this may be your first time on Critical Conversations, if I'm not mistaken.
You're correct.
Can you tell us a bit about this TNT Overseas Group? When was it formed and for what purpose? And currently, what does the group do at the moment?
Well, the group was something I had to throw together when our citizens were locked out in the country, out of the country during the COVID border closure, and they found themselves in difficulty to survive, to get an exemption because the government was not responding to them. As you know, people were waiting all kind of 6 months and different things. There were a lot of difficulties. So it was something I found myself, you know, I just started helping one person and one thing led to the other. And there were more people contacting me for help because of not being able to communicate with the Ministry of National Security. So the government plan was not working too good. So we had to kind of pull ourselves together to assist citizens around the world. You know, the people in the Middle East, the people in England, I mean, you name it, people on a ship, you know. So this is how this organization came, you know, into play. It started out as a WhatsApp group, just trying to assist citizens. I had to register it, you know, here in the United States. And, you know, one thing led to the other. And, you know, I fought with the government to improve their policy and how they were handling things with our citizens stranded. There was a lot of misinformation being sent by the Minister of National Security, not stating exactly what was going on with our citizens, how many was locked out, what was their situation. We were dealing with the foreign missions not being very helpful, closing the door, hanging up the phone, not assisting our people. So there was nothing put in place when the government closed the border to provide assistance with our foreign missions for people here. So this is really what, you know, brought us, the organization, into play. But I have been many years active in trying to, you know, lend my voice on behalf of our people for what's taking place in the country. You know, the crime was one of the things that caught my attention many years ago, and that's how I got involved. And, you know, been trying to do everything possible to assist our people, you know, to make things, you know, better.
Right. Speaking about the crime situation, I see that you are passionate about restoring that safety, and especially about your fellow Trinidad and Tobago nationals. However, what are some measures you think right now citizens can put in place to ensure their safety and security?
Well, what I'm calling on and been calling for many years is for people to collaborate with each other and put some kind of a neighborhood community watch together. I always like to draw the reference, you could even watch from your window. You know, it's just a matter of collaborating with each other to kind of put the pressure on the criminals, because a lot of times, if you notice, people are ambushed. They're surprised. Nobody's watching. The latest killing in Santa Cruz, I believe, is where those guys were sitting in a club. If you notice, their backs were turned to the door. Nobody was paying attention. They got ambushed. You know, I think if we are looking, we could probably handle ourselves a little bit more better in coordinating things. There's a lot of retired law enforcement and military people can assist with training to assist citizens, but we have to get the communication flowing. I've seen a lot of protests and parade, and it's more like, to me, I always say it's like a carnival set. Parade and then what? Did you take numbers? Did you guys come to a decision to exchange information and see how well we could work together? Because nobody can fight this alone. You could build big walls. You could have your cameras, but you need your neighborhood to work with you so we can all watch each other's back and we could make that call for help. Sometimes the police cannot get there, but you have neighbors can assist you. So if we are able to send a message showing criminals from the time they enter our community, they are being watched, and there are things in place to counterattack them. I know most of us are unarmed, in that situation, but if there are a lot of us there, I think we can really work on deterring, the intentions of criminal if we really get our act together with the community patrol and watch. This is what I am very much trying to get done, for the years, to really get it on, the people to work together. And I've made a lot of suggestions to councillors. There are a few councillors that started. I've suggested to the MPs and them that they should, help with, with coordinating these things because they are the elected officials. I'm very disappointed with some of the MPs and the councillors for not organizing the community patrol and, trying to instigate these things. These are the ideas I'm trying to push for people to work together. We have to do something to help ourselves. We really can't continue this way. It is killing our business. People are closing up shop in some areas. You really cannot operate this simple. You can even sell doubles on the street. You've seen the vendors assassinated. The government is not really dealing with the issue. I suggested many times about, a joint patrol between citizens, the police, and the military, because the more eyes you have, the more people on board, is the greater you deter a situation and detention of criminals. So the government is really not doing what could be done on their end. I saw Dr. Rowley made this crocodile tear cry out about illegal guns flowing in the country, but he hasn't really utilized his authority, his resources, the things under his command to really deter the flow of the illegal guns and to curb the situation. So I'm very disappointed that, and the government has a major role to play, but we have to help ourselves. We can't really rely on them.
Mr. Mahaber, when I speak to persons and young persons, the older folks, and you ask them, well, we have discussions about the state of this country with regards to crime. The first thing persons will say, I think we better migrate. Now, with your TNT Overseas group, what are any feedback from persons with respect to that? Are persons looking to migrate, or what is your group's take on that?
What I would like to share with them is the migrating is not easy as it used to be. The last president that we had here in the United States made things a little more complicated, where you could come and hide and do a little work, and then you work your way. They even in Florida right now, the governor has changed the laws over there that you could be prosecuted for hiring a person who's undocumented. So unless you are getting permission through the embassy that you find a job, you get a company to sponsor you, like there's a lot of teachers, a lot of demands for nurses and stuff like that. But it's difficult for some people. Get it easy, some people have it very difficult. You never know what you're going to run into in a foreign country. I say we have a foundation home. I say let's fight. I'm out here. I would like to come back home. Tell you the truth. I have been trying for many years that I would really like to come back home, but there's two major concerns that we have: the healthcare and the crime.
Right.
And
what does your group have to take on that? Because there's no place like home, as we call it, sweet TNT. However, it may not be sweet TNT right now, but your group, are there persons who, they want to come back home, but what is it?
Well, a lot of people want to come back home. Everybody I speak to over here, people who have been 50, 60 years, I mean, they still want to come back home and retire, But you see a lot of people come home and they know they come from overseas and they're looking to rob them, and it's not safe. I mean, a lot of people go back and forth, and they are moving, with fear, But we really need to come together as a people. My objective is to bring all our people together, regardless of what parts of the world they are, just like how I helped them when they needed help across the globe. People were all over the place. And, I set up a team lead in whichever country was willing to assist us, even though they were waiting for help also. But I had a team lead person working with me and assisting the others. So my objective is to bring the diaspora together in working to make TNT a better place. But the difficulty some of us had and the bad experience we had is that the politicians come here and yes, we raise a lot of money, we give money, and then they get into office and they don't follow through. And there seems to be, the people back home seems to be in office, seems to be more threatened by our input. It's like we come in to take over or things like that, or we think we're better than them. Some people have that kind of attitude. You living out there, stay out there, mind your business. But we need to change our mentality, because I'll draw a reference. The state of Israel, their citizens around the world contributes to the economy and helps drive their economy and support their economy that cause those countries to succeed. India does the same thing, though. You must have heard of Gopio. Gopio was responsible for helping to kickstart in India's economy and get it where it's at now. So the foreigners who left India built them themselves in the United States and various countries, and those are the people that's really making the waves and causing things to be put in place. So we need to really come together and work together as a people, and this is what my platform is about. It's not about any political party, or it's about country and people and how we can upgrade the level of service delivery in the country. I mean, I had some very bad experience even entering Trinidad from the airport with the immigration. Very rude and insulting.
Mr. Mahaber, if I could just interject here. I see we have MP Parry back with us, and I just want to get some contributions from him before we lose him again. Right? So MP Parry, you can hear us? Yes? MP Parry? I'm not hearing you. You're on mute if you're trying to speak.
Was that? I listened to something.
Yes. Can you hear me now?
Okay. Yes, I can. Right.
Okay.
So, you're going to have to restart your answer to the question that you were asked, because I don't think we heard you, at all. It wasn't coherent, right? So we were talking about the IMF report, and do you agree that TT's economy is recovering, or do you share Professor Hussein's views that the data is telling a different story?
Right. So off the bat, I'll tell you, Professor Hussein is much more experienced in terms of his tenure at the University of the West Indies as a lecturer in economics. I think he's much more qualified than Minister Imbert any day. So if I have to err on the side of caution, I will swing with Dr. Hussein any day. But that being said, right, there is proof in the documentation itself. Now, so this IMF report, what you call the 2023 Article 4 consultation report, or concluding report, this report came out on Friday, and immediately Minister Imbert jumps and issues a set of release about basically how great he and his government has been performing, and the IMF has, given all these kudos and whatever, right? So there are some interesting things about the report itself that Minister Imbert has not said. And I want to go back from the point of the data collection. The data that the IMF collected to present this Article 4 report was taken sometime during the last quarter of 2022. I think closer to November, December. Now, November, December 2022, in terms of the world of trade and energy prices, was different than January 2023. In January 2023, the world changed. The energy prices, the elasticity of the price started to change in terms of it started its downward spiral. So there have been almost a 60% decrease in the price of oil and gas from what was budgeted in October 2022 to what we are receiving now. So the report that Minister Imbert is bragging about, it's really on old, outdated data. And that is where he has an argument with Professor Hussein. Because he's telling Professor Hussein that he has data up to 2023, which all of us have access to on the particular website. But the collection of the data was in 2022. And that is how these agencies work. So when Professor Hussein is looking at the data, he's not watching this 5-page report. He is watching a document which I have in my hand called the 2023 Article 4 Consultation Press Release and Staff Report. This document is 108 pages, which takes you into the nitty-gritty of the report. Now, in the report itself, and as I was explaining when I came on board earlier, the report that Minister Imbert have is what you call a stock report. A stock report is a report that is generated when you meet certain levers. When your numbers reach a certain lever, it charges off a particular response and you get a stock report. So what we have is really a stock report. And the IMF as lending agencies, these reports tend to use, according to Dr. Hussein, a lot of flowery language, which I think Minister Imbert doesn't like to hear, right? And so it doesn't, the report doesn't, put a big stick on you. It tries to give you all the good points first, and so we're looking at one or two things you have to do on the side to get it done. So let's talk about some of the big stick items that Minister Imbert doesn't speak about. There are about 4 or 5 critical areas in the staff report that the IMF was very, very brutal with the minister. 1, our attempts at diversification. They have insisted that we do better. Forex and monetary control. They have made a number of suggestions which the central bank and the minister have rejected. They speak about our reliance on energy prices. Now, let me put a pin there. The IMF, in terms of its outlook for fiscal 22-23, they expect the economy to grow by 3.4%. Now, any growth in the economy is good. Nobody will deny that growth is bad. Growth is good. But where does this growth come from? Now, remember, the world was asleep during the pandemic, 2020 into 2021. And obviously, the economy of Trinidad and Tobago was suppressed during that time as well. Now, as the bans were lifted and people went back out to work and manufacturers start kicking back in, obviously, as you wake up from a slumber, you start to work. So what you find now is that you're getting these incremental increases in GDP because your economy has restarted. Is that something to blow trumpets for? Well, probably we should blow a little bit of trumpet, but it's not something to stand on and tell the world that we're doing a fantastic job. Another challenge that we have to look at. From 2016 to 2023, the Trinidad and Tobago economy shrunk by 20%. 20%. And the incremental increases that you're seeing 1%, 1.5%, 2%, 2.5%, while they are positive in the larger scheme of things, a 20% hit to your GDP, it requires a lot of work to fix that. Another interesting point, the IMF is saying that we can expect a 3.4% increase in GDP in 2023. But here it is, it is hedged on a 2.9% increase in energy production. That portion of GDP, it's going to come from energy production, energy prices. But if I were to take you back to my earlier conversation, the data was read in 2022. Today, there's a 60% reduction in the prices. So that 2.9% in GDP from the energy rents that the IMF is referring to, it will not materialize. And why it will not materialize? When you are in a low price environment, the only way to increase your production, increase your revenue is to increase production. You need more gas, you need more oil. We know our oil is at a stable 65 to 70,000 barrels of oil per day. That's not changing anytime soon. But we have no gas. We have no additional gas on the horizon. We are already short about 2.1 billion standard cubic feet of gas in the Point Lisa estate. So that's already a deficit. We have Dragon gas, which is still in the negotiation phase. So that is going nowhere. That's probably 2 or 3 years away still. We have the Woodside find, or that field that is north of Tobago, which I think it's estimated to have about 2 or 3 trillion standard cubic feet of gas in that field. But they are now at the negotiating table with the government. So that has a 5 to 7 year window. And we have the Cassia Sea compression facility, which was launched by BPTT, I think last year. And that compression facility was supposed to squeeze off using saltwater injection in some oil wells to squeeze off as much gas that I can bring up, which will really bring marginal amounts of gas back into the system. So taking those 3 things into consideration, we are 3 to 4 years away from bringing any new gas to our facility. So where is this 2.9%, which the IMF is saying in the report, which the minister is beating drums about? Where is it going to come? And you see, he tells us in the opposition that we don't like good news. I will respond to him and say, we like the truth. The truth don't have to be good news. But when you are given the truth and you can prepare for what has to come, preparation manages risk. And when the minister comes on Wednesday, he's going to stand before the country and he's going to paint a national picture of the state of the economy of Trinidad and Tobago. And that is a serious problem, because what it does, it causes the business sector to plan in a particular way that may not materialize. And the last item I just want to mention again with the report, if you read the first page of the report, it says something very interesting, and I want to read it out. Washington, D.C., May 5th, 2023. On end of lapse of time date, May 1st, 2023, the Executive Board of the International Monetary Fund concluded the 2023 Article 4 consultation with Trinidad and Tobago and considered and endorsed the staff appraisal without a meeting. So what happened? The IMF sent all the OJT to Port of Spain. OJT take the report, talk to the minister. They didn't have the courtesy to invite the opposition to the meeting. Go back to Washington, and then all the boys in Washington say, look, boy, we had a meeting on this, and we just signed the report. That is what the minister is bringing. How can we trust the data? Where is the source coming from? So I can tell you, how do you measure how well the economy is going? You just walk out on the street, man. Take a drive through rural Trinidad and Tobago. We have converted every road in this country into a market. Every house today has a stall in front of it to sell something to augment income. Employment. We talk about full employment according to the ILO, but we have 10,000 people lined up looking for work on a cruise ship. 5,000 people looking for food. We have 65,000 people on food cards today. We have 60,000 people deregistered from the NIS, right? So, I mean, you don't need to be a statistician to see how well the economy is going. Just look around you, the environment will speak to you. So I'm open to answer any other questions that you have.
Well, MP, I'm glad you gave that perspective, because we have the Minister of Finance, Colin Ibbott, painting a picture that Trinidad, because of his and his government policies, they're on the road to recovery, and that kind of theme they're using when he would have given the budget last year. But Dr. Roger Hussein dissected the report and showed intrinsic values where the economy would have contracted, and Dr. Roger Hussein even put out a challenge to Minister Ibbott to say, well, come on, let's debate it and let's see who has the correct perspective. I doubt the minister will accede to that challenge. But my next question to you, MP, is this: tomorrow you are going to have a review of the media review, and we understand that there is a variation to expand the budget by 3 billion. Can you tell our audience more about that and why the minister came with that auxiliary or supplemental bill to increase the budget by 3 billion?
Okay, so what the minister have been doing for the last 7 years, and it's a habit, they chastise the Kamla Prasad Biswas administration for carrying 60 billion plus budgets during their term. They blame us for overspending and all the other nasty words that they threw at the People's Partnership because of very high budgets. What this Minister of Finance have been doing for the last couple of years, they purposely lowball the appropriations. They put low budgetary numbers, so it keeps the final expenditure and revenue data below $60 billion. So they drop it between $55, $56, $57 billion. It doesn't cross. And every year, in the middle of the year, they come and they move another 3 billion or 2 billion or whatever. So they use it as a ruse to tell the country that, what? We handling things good. We had to spend money like the People's Partnership, but you're coming in the middle of the year and you're moving money, and that have some problems as well. And I'll tell you what's the problem. The Minister of Finance, when it comes to move money, he takes money from the Infrastructure Development Fund. Now, the IDF, the framers of our economic system, by law, in our financial legislation, it tells the government you must spend a percentage of your overall budget in capital projects. What is a capital project? A capital project is an investment that will continue to earn money. So when we do capital investments, it's really how you're going to create jobs, build new infrastructure, roads and bridges, new technology, diversification, all these things land in your IDF. But when you come in the middle of the year and you take money from the IDF, and this year he's moving almost $400 million from the IDF to put it in recurrent expenditure to pay salaries and wages. So that impacts the country in terms of jobs, in terms of investment, in terms of road infrastructure and so on. So his variation this year is going to push the 2022-2023 fiscal budget to $61 billion. Now, when you add that, when you read
Seems as though we are losing
This
MP.
would have spent over. Yeah, this government would have spent $400 billion so far. And all you have to ask, Shafra has to ask the question, what have we gotten for that $400 billion? Are you seeing better road infrastructure? Are you getting a regular supply of water? Are you getting more services from our national security services? Are you spending less time in the accident and emergency ward? Are you still waiting 3 hours for an ambulance? Now, if you could tell me that we as the citizens of this country are getting improvements, well, then I will stay quiet. But I can tell you after $400 billion, we have achieved nothing. All we've achieved is a country where our citizens are falling like flies every night. 2 and 3 murders. We have an attorney general who can't find file, misplaced file, door file, complain about the size of hotel room that he can't think, and the man tells untruth most of the time. And to put icing on the cake, we have a prime minister who just kisses the masses, blow kisses, jumps on a plane, go and play golf this weekend, comes back and he insults everybody this evening about the silk and so on. So we are really in a bad place, and it's bad policy making, bad decision making on behalf of this administration, and I am not seeing any improvement in the short term.
MP, Leisha, could I ask a follow-up question, or when do you all want to go?
Well, actually, I was just going to say a pleasant good night to everyone. There's about 100 people live with us tonight, and I just wanted to hail out Dr. Augustus Philip. Our Augustus Philip is here with us tonight. Thank you for joining us, and I hope, at some point you're going to make some valuable contributions, because I know you're a very knowledgeable person. I'm also seeing former Senator Tahako Bika. He is online with us on social media.
Very nice.
Right. A few of our regulars. I want to hail out Tommy Muhammad. Mr. Muhammad, thank you for joining us. I see you're very active on the chat. We have our regulars here tonight. Trinity the Bone, we have Ramde, we have Karina, Jermaine, Kazraj. So guys, thanks for joining us. So Safras, you want to continue with the question and just do a quick time check. It is 8:46, so we will get into Q&A and open mic pretty soon. Go ahead.
MP, I am also very concerned about another aspect that seems to be sweeping under the carpet from this PNM government, and this deals with the price of gas and oil that they had pegged the budget on for 2022-2023. It was around 4 something. You can correct me if I'm wrong here. The gas price was 4 something, right? $4 and something.
No, they budget gas at around $6 and they budgeted oil at around $95.
Right. And I want all of us to remember those figures, because for months, MP, the price of gas was $2 and something cents.
Right now it's around $2.20 per MMBTU, and oil is around $76 per barrel.
So MP, with my limited common sense and financial acumen, I have a basic financial understanding of this, but that clearly seems to be that we're not getting the expected revenue that which would have pegged the budget price on. We're falling way short, both in the gas and the oil. So how would that impact on the overall state of financial affairs in the country?
It is going to impact the deficit at the end of the day, and I can tell you the estimates from a few of the economists that I've spoken to. We may end up in a deficit of probably close to $9 to $10 billion at the end of the day with that shortfall, right? But I want to tell you this as well. One school of thought will say that, the Minister of Finance was a bit, crazy or mad, let me put it, to peg the prices so high, knowing that, we are in a volatile system. The Ukraine-Russia war is what pushed the prices of energy up. But you know what? My gut feeling is that the minister pegged those prices so high so he doesn't have to put any of the funds in the Heritage and Stabilization Fund. Because the law says that only if it drops under 10% of your budgeted price, then you can do certain things. If you go above 10%, you put money inside the fund, or if you drop less, then you go. So at the end of the day, the minister is very, very smart in what he's doing, and it was pegged that high, and right now I'm not seeing. So that's the query that I have. The IMF, I think they are positioning themselves wrongly in the report to state that they expect 2.9% growth in GDP based on energy, because that data was in 2022 and we are not in that environment anymore. So we will not accomplish that, which they set out for.
Well, I see a comment here. Vaughn is saying PNM is giving Trinidad and Tobago false hope. So that pretty much sounds like what you are saying as well, MP Parry. Right? If I could take the question in a different line up now, different line. Now, tomorrow, we are going to have the mid-year budget review taking place in the Parliament. And a few weeks ago, the opposition Shadow Minister of Finance, MP Dave Tanku, had said at a press conference that Minister Imbert has many questions to answer in this mid-year budget review. And he believes the government has been using what he calls statistical conmanship to fool the country. So I just want to throw it out to our panelists, MP Parry, Dr. Philip, if you want to join in as well. And Gary, what do you expect from that mid-year budget review commencing tomorrow?
Okay, Alicia, are you hearing me?
I'm hearing you, Dr. Philip.
Okay, thanks. I am happy to be part of a discussion, and I basically want to say to your panel, it's an interesting topic, and MP Rushton Parry is dead on track. I actually was a senator in 2007, and since that is a long time, and I have been contributing to the budget debate in those times. And I just make that point to say, since that time to now, we have always accused the Trinidad and Tobago government of not diversifying the economy. And in a capitalist system, it's really the private sector that grows and develops, and you tax those sectors and you allow them to create jobs. We, even though we have a shorter history than the US, which is our model that we follow, we have a heavy amount of transfers and subsidies. So I know that people mention the public sector investment program, and MP Parry was talking about the investment and the infrastructure. What I want to just say, because I know time is limited, is that we have a budget about 57 billion with about 3 billion being added to the midterm. So we're looking at 61 billion. Out of that budget, I know national security is about 7, education is about 5-7, and agriculture and food is just a few $100 million. It's not even $1 billion. And so the issue of food security is going to be a big issue for people in Trinidad and Tobago. The quality of our life, our ability to travel, to afford things. And the other part that I heard in the conversation when we talk about, somebody did mention the squandering of the money, which is from NIB and the small amount of people in the workforce. In the 1970s and 80s, you could have just looked at the common entrance list and you would have seen 25,000 students, 11 years. My son is now finishing university, and when he wrote common entrance, there was 17,000 people. So it means that I just want to show that there's a trending downwards of the population. While we have a lot of people migrating and there's a brain drain and issues like that, Trinidad and Tobago is really not being managed properly. That is the economy trying to get the people involved in production and using the talent to innovate. And I know Gary's here. The solution is not to just jump on a plane and leave and go to greener pastures. It is really about developing the country. And there are people, groups of people who have been working hard to develop the country. And the race comes into the politics, and you see people, left foot, right foot, vote a certain way. And it doesn't help if people look at the management of the economy and they look at the country and they vote in that way. It means that we will have the better people representing the government, better governance. And Leisha, I know your program is supposed to create awareness. So I just want to say, we also have to look at the economic development with social programs. Recently on the news, we heard a lot of migrants coming to the country. People are begging on the streets. There's history about housing, a place to live, a place to study, a place to recreate. Those are the models that we should develop. And I think the 7 out of the 14 regional corporations that the UNC has, they should try to offer an alternative system. Don't depend on the government, because this government is not going to help and solve the problem. In fact, the Prime Minister had said, who they're dead. He said he's going to isolate certain people who doesn't vote for him, which means that they're not going to spend money, even though money is allocated to regional corporations and so on. They're not going to fix the potholes. So, we're going to go down a slippery slope. So I will be able to, take some questions. I didn't look at the exact figure, but I'm aware of the budget and the allocations, Leisha and team. And I just want to say, we have to have more conversation like this so we could get creative in terms of how we could help ourselves and help the people and develop the country. So I thank you for the opportunity.
Leisha, let me just add some information that I know the gentleman who spoke before wanted. We are adding, in terms of the $3.8 billion that we're going to appropriate tomorrow, 2.1 billion of that is going back to transfers and subsidies, right? So that is the problem that we're having. Sometimes half, 50%, 60% of our entire budget is on transfers and subsidies, and that's a challenge for the country economically. There was another interesting comment that he made concerning the migrant labor. Right now, the estimate of our productive labor force is only 55%, which is probably one of the lowest in the region, which means that the data that is coming into the CSO is telling us that 55% of the 600,000 people who are capable of working is actually working. So the question is, where is the rest of those people? Then you have an upset with the migrant labor. Well, I heard Minister Hines for the first time. As a matter of fact, anybody in the PNM never agreed that there were more than 16 or 17,000 migrants, Venezuelan migrants in the country. When we told them what the UNHCR report is saying, 80,000, 90,000, they always say, no, that's nonsense. Minister Hines came and he agreed that there were about 70,000 migrants, Venezuelan migrants on the island. Now, these migrants are working. A lot of them are working, and they're working in what you call the non-productive sector. And they don't have to pay PAY, they don't have to pay NIS, they don't have to pay health surcharge. And then there's a piece of pressure on them as well, because our hospital system is not looking after anything other than basic treatment for them and their families. And the kids are not allowed in our primary and secondary schools, which to me is a violation of the UNHCR, the fundamental rights of the child and so on. So we're creating a migrant population of young children who are not going to go to school. They will end up in the workforce somewhere again in the unproductive sector, or they may end up adding to the only sector that is growing, that is the criminal sector. And that's what we have to worry about. So, one of the things that we're facing in this country, and the gentleman who spoke before me, I'm really sorry I didn't get his name.
Dr. Philip.
he made Mr. Philip, right. He made an important point that it is the private sector that ought to be driving the diversification. And I totally agree. But my experience, I'm 53 years old, I'm a businessman as well. I think the fact that Caribbean and more so Trinidadian businessmen, we are not heavy risk takers culturally. We're not heavy risk takers. What we want to see is the government put a hand in it, and then we run behind them. I think that's a cultural issue that, you know, when you look at America, you look at countries in Europe and so on, where you have private sector really driving innovation, invention. But you know, culturally, we won't design like that. So for instance, he mentioned agriculture. Agriculture is 1.2% of our entire budget. But we talk about a $6 billion food bill. But yet year after year, we can't seem to put more money into agriculture, into modern agriculture, into hydroponics, into aquaculture, into vertical farming, into, you know, lifting the type of agriculture where you don't need a lot of land, which taken 15 and 20 years in cabinet for you to get access to state land and use less water. So we have a problem there. Then you have an issue where we have the University of the West Indies. What part of our budget goes into research and development? Less than 0.1%. So we are how we are by our own doing. And unless we don't fundamentally change how we invest in our universities and research and development to find new ideas, to find, you know, to innovate things that are already there, we're going to remain how we are. And the last thing I want to say on that is what can we do in Trinidad and Tobago outside of our tourism asset, which that needs to be dealt with as well, and our culture. But what else can we be unique for, right, in our part of the geographic world? And I think you see the cocoa industry. We are not paying attention to the cocoa industry. I see the University of the West Indies did a fantastic project, I think, with some cocoa research facility to do chocolates. I think we are not taking our Trinitario cocoa and making it into a world product. I mean, one tote, they call, in terms of the quantification of the beans, they call it a tote. Internationally, a tote of cocoa sells for about 3,000 US. Our cocoa here in Trinidad and Tobago, the Trinitario, sells for about 5,500 US a tote. And a barrel of oil is $100. So we need to fundamentally change and shape how we're seeing our agriculture in terms of our diversification going forward.
Bipari, I want to thank you for that contribution. And I mean, you mentioned so many powerful things there, from innovation, culture, tourism, innovation, being able to take risks. You know, and I really hope, like, in future programs, we could explore all of these things in more detail. Absolutely. Right? We are getting into the Q&A and the open mic segment of the program now. It is 9:02. I know Richard has a contribution and I believe some questions that he wants to ask. Richard, would you like to come on?
Good night all. Mr. Parry, I would like to know, where's the provision for local content? Seeing that you're a former, you were in the People's Partnership and you had the opportunity to put it in place, now you're MP still, right? And then two, would you be bringing up the same question tomorrow to have it unanswered with the media budget review?
Okay, so two things. I entered into the politics in 2015. I was never part of the People's Partnership at that time when they were in government. So this is my 6.5 year into 7 years as the MP for Mayaro. Now, the interesting thing you ask about local content. We have no local content laws in Trinidad and Tobago, much like what Guyana has. And I really do feel we ought to be looking at the Guyanese model a lot closer and bringing legislation. This is my personal view. This is not a political view for the United National Congress. I've been working in the energy sector for about 25, 30 years. So I've seen how it plays. The nice thing about Guyana, a foreign company has to play second fiddle to a local company in Guyana. And that has a lot of fundamental important things in terms of the development of the people, the transfer of knowledge, the fact that the revenue sits in the local commercial banks, royalties, taxes, bank charges. So the country earns, while they would have to pay some to the foreign company as the second fiddle partner. That's fine. Now in Trinidad and Tobago, it's in the reverse. The foreign company comes here, the local company has to pay second fiddle, and the bulk of the money goes directly to the foreign company at the end of the day. The only part of transfer of knowledge, which has a bit of legislation, comes under the Ministry of National Security, the work permitting system. So if you have to bring an expert engineer who is fixing a radio, he has to have a training program. A local person must be trained within a year and a half or 2 years or 3 years. The knowledge is transferred, and then this fella has to go back to the States. In terms of legislation, that is the only piece that has any type of stringent control concerning the transfer of knowledge to local content. So that is something that clearly we need to address as a country. It's there, I think, in our national transformation plan that was designed in 2020, on the whole section concerning people and moving people forward in terms of how they work in the industries and so on. But will it come up in the debate tomorrow? If there is an opening for it, because remember, we are constrained in terms of what you can debate on. The only energy matter comes up tomorrow in one of the transfers is where the minister is asking for $600 million more to add to the fuel subsidy. Whether the speaker allows us to speak on local content and some of those matters, that will be left to be seen.
Okay, I do, before we go to Trinity Bona, there's a question that I do want to ask, right, to both Gary and MP Parry. Now, we saw that COP earlier, Christopher Hayward, her length of service has been expanded by a year. Do you all see this making any impact to crime in Trinidad and Tobago? Is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? Is this something that will have no impact? Gary, I don't know if you maybe want to comment.
Yeah, I absolutely not. No impact.
Okay.
Absolutely not. She doesn't have what it takes, the knowledge, the capabilities, in many ways, what it takes, to deal with our situation there. She's just filling a space, and she's like probably a party's favorite. But what is taking place in our country needs somebody like Gary Griffith, if not him, to be put in place, because the kind of things that he had structured there, the government removed everything and put us in a worse of a situation. So we need somebody like Gary Griffith, if not him, to really get us into a good place, for security and things like that. And we should take it seriously, because who wants to invest in a country where your life is threatened? I mean, who wants to move into a neighborhood? Who wants to go shop into a store where your life is being threatened? So these are things that we must take very seriously. I fail to understand the citizens coming together, especially with what took place with Mr. Roberts recently, the lack of support. I mean, the amount of killing, I thought people would have been enraged and been out there lending their voice, in support of Mr. Roberts. I'm very disappointed in that. I'm very disappointed from a lot of people with not getting out there, because we have a serious situation on our hand where people are getting gunned down in their house, in their business. You're killing the economy that way, so that is a major concern for me. Now, the mention of the agriculture industry, that Ronald Phillips had mentioned, and MP Parry. What I see we should do is that we have the resources to really go into some kind of mass production of our agriculture industry to really feed. If people can get food, you would have a lot more stress and pressure and aggravation, where people can feed their kids. So I think we have the resources where agriculture can play a role into seeing that people get food, and which is in an industry we haven't really worked, in our history of independence. We have really suffocated that industry. Up to now, the farmers can't get the proper roads to move their product. The lack of support. There's too much complications in getting anything done. So I would say we not utilizing what we have and what's within our power fully, to deal with the crime situation, and that's the way I see it.
Well, Mr. Marbe, I am a director with the Agriculture Society at Trinidad and Tobago, right?
Right.
And I could tell you that almost nothing is being done for agriculture. I can tell you that because we interacting with the farmers, and the farmers have been the same way year in, year out. The farmers most of the time losing money because of the lack of infrastructure, clearing irrigation channels. In the dry season, when you have that window of opportunity to get the irrigation channels clear, nothing. Then in the rainy season, when the flood comes in, the farmers are exposed. The whole rebate system is non-functional, basically. There are farmers waiting from 2018, 2019 for rebates and nothing. So you're correct. And until we get proper leadership that recognize agriculture for what it is and could recognize that agriculture could be a driver of revenue collection for the country in terms of both domestic, regional, and international, we will be talking the same talk 10 years from now because it's the same hymn book the PNM singing from. They keep allocating money, the minimum amount of money for agriculture, and nothing happening in terms of on the ground for the farmers. I mean, the price of fertilizers and pesticides is so expensive. But I digress there. You mentioned agriculture, you're correct. That is a possible revenue stream that is not being tapped into by the government. Please, do we have time for one more question for MP Parry?
Yes, and then we'll go to Trinity the board.
Okay, right? Sorry about that, Trini, but MP Parry.
Before we do that, I just want to add one thing. What I see here, I don't see a government for all the people in the country, right? Number one. And the political and all sorts of discrimination, in suffocating this industry, which is key to our survival. I mean, the world has an international food security issue that we should take very much seriously. So, I mean, maybe we could continue this at another time, but this is something, this industry, as you know for yourself, you have personal dealing and seeing it firsthand, I see there's something that has been suffocated. We could do much better in what we have there.
Thank you very much, Mr. Marbe. And I'm guessing the whole gist of your statement is that all the forces have to come together to beat this monster called the PNM. And I agree with you. The political leader of the United National Congress has time and time again opened doors, and anybody is free to join. I mean, if you really look at it in a proper analytical manner, it's a two-party system. There's hardly any room for a third party to wiggle in. The most that comes out is splitting of the votes. So, I mean, we're all big, we have sense, and people have to know where their role is and what we have to do. The template they have to win, but if the people could humble themselves, the system bigger than any individual, and we could reach that stage where we could come back to proper governance.
Well, we have to fix the communication. We have to fix the communication where the leader is accessible to communicate with those that need necessarily to be communicated with. There's that has caused a breakdown maybe in relationship. So we have to fix that communication issue. Yes.
I don't know where you're coming from there. I don't want to comment on that, and I prefer if we stay away from that.
No, I'm not expecting. I'm telling you from my end. I'm telling you from my end and my experience and the things I've heard. So what I want, what I want to see us fix is the communication. In war, you have to have proper communication, number one. And Mr. Pandey, the chief, had drawn a reference in 2007. You want to be small fish in big pond, or big fish in small pond, that kind of reference. And we saw the 2007 results with Dukarantiki. He's king and he's going to make it and win without anybody. That was a lot of work that nobody was willing to listen, and there were too many egos, and we fell for the trap that the PNM had set.
Exactly.
Fueling Dukarant to think that he can make it, and and all of these things. But this is something we will have to build on and build this conversation. I know time is limited, but I just wanted to point out that we have to open the doors to communication. We have to be able to be accessible We have to be on the ground with the people. You know, you have to get up that platform. You have to get up the throne. You have to get on the ground with the people and connect.
Well, Gary, thanks so much for that contribution. And this program is about opening up the lines of communication, right? Because we do have an MP here with us, and you know, there is that one-on-one dialogue with the MP. Right, Safras, I believe you had a final question.
Yes, MP, coming back to the whole economic situation here now, a couple of weeks ago, you would have put out data stating that the unemployment actually increasing, more people are losing their jobs. Whereas Minister Imbert said that that is untrue and you are being intellectually dishonest with the population. Could you clarify that your position, and in the context of now Imbert is contesting Dr. Roger Hussein, who is an expert in the area in this whole economic situation here. He is contesting Dr. Roger Hussein as station also. Is it that Minister Imbert is trying to paint a picture that is not really there?
Okay, so the International Labour Organization, right? They set the parameters to decide what full employment is. So the rule of thumb is that if your unemployment numbers is below 5%, they will automatically allow you to claim that your economy is at full employment, right? Because they expect at least 5% of your labor force not to be working because of whatever, medical, this, that, the other. So they expect 5% not to be working. So the CSO put out a report that our unemployment figure was 4.7%. Now, this is the same CSO. In 2015, when the PNM came in, they wanted to beat everybody in the CSO. Say that, oh, they're crazy, they're mad, the numbers are stupid, don't take them on, right? And they started to push for this National Statistical Office, which ought to be an independent unit. Well, it's 8 years, 7 years, that ain't gone nowhere. They haven't brought it to Parliament. That dead in the water like the dragon field. So now, apparently, the CSO is the guru, the oracle for the best data in the world. So my argument with the minister at that time is that, Minister, it is easy for you as a statistician to say and tell the country, well, we had full employment based on the 4.7. But I asked the minister, I said, Minister, just look around you. If we are at full employment, why is the crime level so high? Why we are on a trajectory for 800 murders this year? Why we are having so much of home invasions, right? Why it is we are seeing thousands of people lining up for hampers? Why it is there's 65,000 food cards being handed out every month? Why it is the NIB is struggling to get funding because so many people, we estimate about 100,000 people who are not working, who would have normally contributed to the national insurance. That is how they are suffering. That is what is causing a depletion in the fund in the NIB board. I mean, you have Rogers' data saying that we at only 55% in terms of our labor capacity. And you just have to walk down the road. I mentioned it earlier again. You're driving to Gulf City. If you swing left to head up to the mall, there's a bunch of people on the side of the road in Chaguanas there with little children. Now, mind you, some of them are Spanish, but they are human beings, right? You go to any one of those malls, you have little children. If you're in rural Trinidad, you come here, you go Rio Claro, Tabakit, 5-year-old and 6-year-old with bundles of body at the side of the road. Every other house, there's a shed because somebody in the family not working, right? So it is one thing to look at the statistics, and there's something else to come out and see what is happening. I mean, we as MPs, we are bombarded every day. Shafraz, it is hard to see a grown man cry in your office and he says, MP, I have no food. I can't feed my children. I'm taking anything I could get this morning. And when men cry, that pains me. And you know what it is for an unemployed man? It's not only that he can't feed the family in a Shafraz, but it is demotivating as a man. It is psychological as a man that you cannot see about your family. I'm surprised we don't have a higher rate of suicide in this country. the way how things are going. So I could argue with Imbut any day, and I suspect tomorrow, if I am given an opportunity to go to war with the Minister of Finance, well, he'll
Unfortunately, I think. Oh, okay, get back.
Yes.
Okay, Pipari, I think we lost you for a little while there, but I take it your contribution is finished?
Yes, yes.
Okay, great. So Trinity the Bone, you want to go ahead?
I'm muted.
Yes.
Good night, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, let me commend you on an excellent program again. And MP Parry, you never fail to impress us. Never.
Thank you.
Something you mentioned, and I think we forgot to mention it. The IMF gets their data from the government and from their research, and the government owes all our state enterprises, WASA, TNTech, and the VAT that they owe, close to how much is it? What, $11 billion over the
8 billion right now. We're about 8 billion. Yeah.
All those outstanding billion-dollar debts that they owe to the state company isn't taken into consideration when the IMF doesn't see that. That is technically a loan that the government, an interest-free loan that the government has that is hidden and is not taken into consideration in the data when the IMF makes their proposals and their evaluation. So that is something also that is reflected in our budgets that tells us about our deficits. Because when we say we have a budget that is with so much million in deficit, it doesn't take into consideration the government still owes these billions to local banks and state enterprises and so on. What is your take on that? I have more
well, that's true. So the $8 billion that they're owing to businesses in VAT refunds, it's not really borrowings, right? So it's not classified as borrowing. So that is nowhere in the debt reporting in the system. So basically, the government is carrying free money. But here was the problem with that, Trinity the Bone. When you take out that $8 billion, that is working capital from businesses. That working capital could invest in new machinery, new technology, diversification of the business, new jobs.
Correct.
$8 billion out in the money cycle has the power of $24 billion.
Exactly.
So look at the impact to the economy by just the minister holding on to that to that $8 billion. And remember, they pay a little piece, but every month, every 2 months, it cycles back again. So they have to find a creative way to solve that problem.
Yeah, but apart from that, the businessmen are not fools. They are in business to make money, so they will try to recover some of that money from the consumer. So that is what hikes up our inflation also, because the businessmen are not going to be losing billions of dollars per year, and it's not going to be passed on to the consumer. Correct?
Correct. And you know what's interesting? When the minister was asked that question in the Senate, he said that one, they're going to pay $3 billion via bonds. But the businessmen didn't lend you no money.
Correct.
They want back their cash. So don't tell me about bonds. And you know, the interesting thing, he talk about bonds, but he says that the banks will cash it at par value, which means the same value. Which bank in this country going to take my $1,000 bond and give me back $1,000? That is not going to happen. He hasn't said what will be the maturity of the bonds. What is the interest rate of the bonds? I call 1 or 2 bankers and they say, "But crazy," right? And then he says he's going to find $2 billion in cash to give some cash. So you're talking about 3 and 2, 5. He's still owing 2.8. And by the time he gets those first 2 tranches out, it's going to go back up to 7 billion again. And I think he also mentioned that when the TTRA comes on stream, they are going to revisit the whole issue of VAT, because it's really a burdensome accounting measure in terms of managing that. they may look at a flat sales tax across the board and eliminate that cumbersome VAT. That is something we'd have to see how the TTRA gets off the ground, if it ever gets off the ground, and bring that into the system.
Right. So certainly that will be an interesting discussion. I expect the TTRA to come up tomorrow, right? So maybe next week, Paul, we may be talking about the TTRA in our program next week.
It's coming. He did say that he will speak about the TTRA tomorrow.
Right. All right. Now, time check. Time flies when you're having fun. It is 9:23. So I think we should take some closing remarks and look to wrap up. Gary, I want to invite you to bring any final closing remarks you may have.
First of all, I want to thank you all for having me, and I enjoy the conversation. I mean, this is something that is very lengthy. There's a lot to be discussed, in addressing the issues. We have a government there, like I've seen it, within the first year, they are not there for all the people. And they have their own agendas. They would not communicate, and say what they're doing. They feel like they don't have to explain to anybody. So I would like to encourage everyone to come on board, to join forces, to remove this government so that we can really have a country that all of us can enjoy, a government that will treat everyone equally, will work with the people, be accessible, and in advancing our service delivery. There's too much complications. You go to any of these government offices to get anything done. There's lack of respect for those of us outside the country. We don't get no kind of collaboration. It was mentioned about the engineers coming from overseas, from foreign countries. We have a lot of trainees who are highly educated and working in foreign countries that can fit into those in that category, helping our country. A lot of people wants to help. A lot of people in the diaspora wants to help, but they always get shut down or they frustrate them and derail them. So, I just want to try to encourage people to come together. The TNT Citizen Overseas is a platform to bring all our people together for country and people. And this is not a particular political party group. We agree with what's right and what's wrong, and we support, what we believe is right for our country. But this is a platform to bring everybody on board. So again, I would like to thank you for having me.
Gary, I want to thank you for coming on the program and also congratulate you and commend you on the good work you're doing with the TT Citizens Overseas group. It's a group that I've joined. And Gary is quite a big advocate, although he does not live in Trinidad and Tobago. He is really Trinidad to the bone still, one of our biggest patriots. So, Gary, thank you. On behalf of the team here, thank you for coming, sharing your perspectives with us, especially about safety and security. And I hope you're going to join us again. I think you will. I think
most definitely. I wish you were on board when I was helping all those people stranded and bawling for help outside the country.
Yes.
You would have seen some real action with me and against the government. But I was able to force them to work with me, and I got collaboration directly from the Ministry of National Security, Ministry of Health, everybody, Prime Minister's office. Everybody was working with me by the time I got done with them. And we got a lot of people home, more than 500 or 600 people on my end, I think. I'm counting, we was able to assist, but I deeply appreciate connecting with you guys. I hope we can build this connection and bring all our people across the globe together to work for a better country.
Okay, thank you, Gary. MP Parry, I know you've said a lot, but we want to give you the opportunity to make any final remarks.
Sure. I want to use
Sorry, before you actually start, we didn't get to ask you about property tax. So in your closing comments, I don't know if you want to just touch base on property tax and is it coming? How will that affect the whole economic situation while you're closing off? I know it's a big question there.
Well, what I will tell you, the IMF staff report has a whole section where it tells Mr. Imbert, if you want to achieve your 3 and your 4 and your 5% growth, your TTRA has to come on stream. You have to bring on your property tax. You have to raise your water rates. You have to raise your electricity rates. You have to get your climate change policy going. These are things that the minister not going to talk about tomorrow. You understand? Because the IMF has put that in their policy. So to answer your question, the property tax is coming. because all those boxes have to be checked. Because Imbert is running this country by numbers and by statistics, not by heart, and love for people. He's running it by numbers, right? And in closing, I just wanted to tell Gary that I hear his pain sometimes. I'm on a few groups with Gary, and Gary is a fighter. He's always challenging everybody, even MPs, PNM MPs. There's a lot of PNM MPs on some of those groups, and I want to tell Gary that I know he's been away for quite some time. I don't know if he's going to agree with this comment that I want to say, that we as a people are not the way we are by guess. We are the way we are because of how we have been cultured. And I want to explain that to you. You raise the matter that nobody came out for Victor's Walk, right? No, just a point and note, I sent about 50 people from Yarrow, so Yarrow was well represented up there. But there was Borodale in Point Fortin, which was more important. And then Buju was in the National Stadium of Queen's Park, Savannah. So the 50,000 people was all over the place. Nobody had time to come and march with Victor. But there's a root reason for that. We do not have a culture of activism like the United States. You know what we feel activism is? Dragging too long and burning for tire. That is not activism. That's terrorism, right? We don't teach activism in our school curriculum. We don't teach our children to be passionate about nothing. We in Mayaro here, right? We have a ocean to the right of us, the Atlantic Ocean, right? The children in our schools, our curriculum, our science curriculum, our chemistry curriculum, but it should be more focused in climate, oceanography, biology. Let's get our kids passionate. So you find as they grow into adults and they become passionate about things, no government can come and work you over, because you would have been trained in your schooling years to be passionate about things. Like you see how Gary has a passion for safety and a passion for emergency medical services, because I see it all the time. We don't do that here anymore. Our education system don't do that. So all of these things are fundamental policy directions. When we, as a United National Congress, go back into government, we have to address these things to build a better Trinidad and Tobago going into the 21st, 22nd century for the next 50 to 100 years. Shafraz, and thank you for the opportunity.
MP Parry, we want to thank you, and I have to quote Trinity the Bone here. You never fail to impress us, sir. So thank you so much for your detailed analysis of the economy and everything else that you've shared with us. Certainly I will play this over and try to get out some little clips and send it out during the week. Right. Before I move on to Shanta, I want to just mention we have Alderman Nazmul Muhammad with us. He's always with us online. So Alderman, thank you for joining us. And also I know we had Dr. R. Augustus Phillip, who gave us some remarks tonight. It was very impromptu, but I want to thank him. He is a former senator, for sharing his thoughts on economic growth with us. Right. Shanta, over to you, and then we'll go to Safraz.
Thank you, Alicia. Tonight's episode was indeed a conversation that was much needed. MP Parry, no stranger to us, excellent contribution, and your analysis was really good, especially for the hard-headed ones like myself to understand. I want to thank you for your continued support as well to Critical Conversations. Mr. Mahabir, thank you for being with us tonight, and lovely discussion, and I want you to continue your passion and your drive with your TNT Overseas Group. Continue and keep it up. Back to you, Alicia.
Okay, Safraz, well, I guess, over to you to close off.
Okay, again, similar sentiments I will express, like Shanta and Alicia. MP Parry, you have been dynamic, and you never fail to disappoint us. You're always accepting our invitation, and for that we are eternally grateful to you for accepting our invitation at short notice to talk about this economic impasse that our country is faced. Thank you to Mr. Mahaber. Thank you to Dr. Philip. I would just like to state that I am angry right now. Right? I am angry right now because this is not the first time, it's not the second time, it's not the third time. Minister Imbert has been called out for financial dishonesty and misinformation he's peddling on the nation. Right? And it's people like astute people like Dr. Roger Hussein and MP Rushton Parry, the Honorable Kamala Prasad, MP Dave Tanku, the whole opposition team, Senator Wade Mark, Senator Lyda, Senator Anil, Senator Jayanti, the whole team. It's too much to call. But we have recognized what he is doing, and we continue to tell the population, you know what, the population don't even need to be told because we are suffering outside here. As MP Parry said, he see big men coming and crying. When they closed down Petrochin, people started to commit suicide because they couldn't afford to keep up with the mortgages and the bills, and they just seen everything taken away from them, and the children crying for food, and they can't put food on the table. So the suffering is real outside there. And then to have Minister Imbert coming out to paint a rosy picture when nothing is rosy about the economy. Unemployment is so high. Prices of groceries. Imagine the prices of groceries supposed to be down because shipping costs went down, but for some reason the prices of groceries still very high. Imagine that, and that is a failure of leadership of this country by the Minister of Finance in putting things in place to make sure the prices come down. The price of gas supposed to come down when the price of fuel was low. That didn't happen either. So all how these citizens keep losing out. I don't want to take too long again, and I don't want to go too political, but the suffering is real outside there. And I just want to state that local government election can't come too quick. That is our opportunity to voice our dissatisfaction with the way how this country is being governed and held. And I want everybody to come together and make a statement that we're not happy. And to do that, we have to use this finger here. Guys, thank you very much. Thank you, MP Rushton. You are dynamic, and we'll see you all next week.
Okay, everyone, thank you for joining us on this episode of Critical Conversations with the Campus Foundation. We are looking to put together a panel to discuss the mid-year review next week, Tuesday. So until then, stay safe and see you guys next week, Tuesday. Take care. Good night.